Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing the Sun-Saturn aspects. And the Sun-Saturn aspects, they combine two planets which have very different characteristics. While the Sun deals with self-expression and self-knowledge and shining the brightest that you can shine, Saturn deals with limitations, responsibility, duties, repression, and so it deals with all this serious stuff. So with Sun-Saturn aspects, which of the planets will be more dominant will depend on the planet, which one of them maybe is mostly aspected in your chart, or it will also depend on how much time you spent working on it, as well as its strength. For instance, if Sun is in Leo or in Aries, that will be a strong position for the Sun, and in that case the Sun will have a stronger say in the aspects, in the aspect. But if Saturn is strong, if Saturn is in Capricorn or Aquarius, then Saturn may have a stronger influence. So with Sun-Saturn aspects, often you'll find either this is a person who finds it very hard to express themselves because of the influence of Saturn makes you want to censor yourself, to make sure how you're expressing yourself is in line with your either certain principles, whether it's the principles of the community you come from or certain principles you've created for yourself. You want to squeeze yourself into those principles, so you want to ensure you are expressing yourself in line with that, which can limit your self-expression, and it can lead to repression, because you always want to be in control and you're always trying to control that fire. And whenever you step out of that, whenever you in times when you don't apply this, maybe there can be people with this aspect who, like, in a moment where they really express themselves, they might go back and really overthink it and be like, did I behave correctly? What will people think of me? Or is this in line with my principles, or my responsibilities or my duties? So there's a lot of strain in regard to that. And this can also come from somebody who, when they were growing up, their parents were very strict, particularly the father, because Saturn represents like a father figure, but not necessarily. Some mothers can also embody the Saturn aspects with strictness and making sure you toe the line and you become exactly how they want to mold you. So that thing of being exactly how someone else wanted you to be molded can feature in the childhood of these people with Sun-Saturn aspects. Sometimes not even the parents, it's just another elder in the community or a teacher or the school where you went to, that it was very strict, or the religion that you grew up in, the church you grew up in, or the other religion you grew up in that may have been very strict. The leaders in that church were strict, or the community members. There was a lot of strictness. Okay, so you grow up feeling like you have to really align yourself with certain rules. Okay, certain rules. How people, you might also be affected by how people perceive you, and want to be very in control, making sure that you are seen as responsible, as dutiful, as someone who you want to be viewed seriously. And this is a huge strain. It's just so much work to live like that, because it's just a huge burden. Remember, Saturn is also associated with feeling overburdened. So one way to reduce this burden would be to learn to listen to your heart, to learn to do things because they feel good, not because not to be responsible, not to do right by others, or not to always be like, to do things because they are just fun, sometimes to just create moments for self-expression. it's a very difficult aspect. It's not difficult, it's not like impossible to overcome, but learning to have fun yeah, learning to have fun. People with this aspect, some of them really don't know how to have fun. um Unless they have a strong sun, like it's in Leo or Aries, or even a place like Sagittarius, sometimes like a fire sign, they can have a time just letting go. Even the fun activities of theirs can be serious fun activities, like fun activities that require a lot of responsibility, like just letting loose and just doing things which are not necessarily aligned with a goal or aligned with a structure. It can be so hard. They have to spend a lot of time finding that themselves and just letting themselves be. um Maybe an easier way to do this is to find friends who just know how to have fun, so you can learn from them, because there's a way you can just sometimes we are just in our own head and we don't know how to it can be hard to incorporate something you don't know how to do, so this aspects can make you it can make you really fear judgment a lot. You can find people who they can discover who they are, they can discover self-expression, but they might still be scared of the judgment people will cast on them. So they can reach a point where, after a lot of introspection, they know themselves, but they still feel this harsh critical voice is so strong in their head, and they always think other people will judge them. It's, of course, these are like remnants of their childhood memories, where they either observed that people being shunned for being self-expressive, or they themselves were shunned excessively by their father figures, or by their parents, or by any authority figure who was strong in their life. So that subconscious memory makes them feel like others will judge them all the time, like even if. And then what's shocking is that they may actually do something and find that there are a lot of people who are welcoming to that part of them, but it's this is a case of taking risks. Just because something happened in the past by a certain group of people doesn't mean that now when you express yourself the same thing will happen. So it's about taking one risk at a time. And Sun-Saturn aspects generally don't like risks, but risks are also associated with the sun, with the sun solar energy, taking chances. The fifth house, which is ruled by the sun. So um, this is gonna be something you have to do if you really want to grow. Learn to take risks, because Saturn likes structure, predictability, and the sun wants to grow and shine and just just stand in their own light. And to do that, you're going to have to take certain risks if you want to separate yourself from the past that no longer serves you. You have to learn to really listen to your inner voice, so that you'll grow more confident over time to trust your instincts instead of just trusting structure, because structure just tends to keep things the same. But when you learn to trust your instincts and you learn to be truly confident and you grow into your personality, then then growth occurs. And also, you must learn that with this aspect, you can also be judgmental of others. But often, when you're judgmental of others, it shows a lot of judgment that you cast on yourself. Because how we judge others is often how we judge ourselves. So, if you find yourself very judgmental towards others, you need to look within and find which aspects of you they are embodying that you feel the need to shun. Okay. Um. So with this aspect, because of the fact that your the authority figure may have been very harsh with you, it might create a lot of shame, because this can often show an authority figure who's just so critical all the time, always criticizing, not seeing the good in you, not seeing your talents enough, not seeing you enough, just seeing your mistakes, just seeing what you do wrong. That's what Sun Saturn can. That's the negative side of Sun Saturn aspects. The authority figure who just criticizes and criticizes, a perfectionist, and you feel like you can never really reach the level that they want you to reach because there's always something wrong that you're doing. So with that, it just feels like you have to be perfect all the time, and it can create a lot of shame within you, with if you don't, because you don't understand why you're always being criticized. So with that shame, it can lead some people with this aspect to build a wall around themselves and be scared to let people in because they feel imperfect. They feel like they're just not good enough because there's that sort of memory from the past where they never met the standard of that authority figure. And even now, maybe some of them, their fathers or their parents, they still make them feel like they can never really live up to their expectations. They're still critical. And so this tendency to try, there can be a tendency to try and live up to the fathers or the parents' expectations. And it can be frustrating. So some of these people achieve a lot and still feel empty inside. And some of them never even achieve what they wanted to achieve because the inner critic is extremely harsh and they are unable, it's very hard for them to celebrate whichever small achievements they have. So even building up to the big achievements is hard because there's this feeling of shame and inadequacy and low self-worth that they need to overcome first before they can reach success. Because if they keep over criticizing themselves, even when like the small wins aren't celebrated, so they're always feeling not good enough because they're always comparing themselves to others because they're doing to themselves what their authority figures, often the father, did to them. So moving past that and learning to appreciate your efforts, learning to appreciate who you are now and how far you've come, and learning to appreciate yourself just as you are already, just to celebrate yourself. And that is embracing the solar power, the energy of the sun, learning to just embrace you is going to be a very important journey, because when you do that, that's when you really start glowing from the inside and you're able to move further with your goals because the inner critic is not as strong anymore. Or you can find a way to make the inner critic your friend and know when the inner critic is going too far. Because I just think of it, even in real life, criticism help us grow, but there's a difference between constructive criticism and criticism that does not help with anything. So you have to learn, even within yourself, when is your self-criticism constructive and when is it just diminishing and causing you feelings of low self-worth and um shame. And so that's about learning boundaries. And again, learning boundaries, it's a certain thing. Certain rules, limits, and boundaries. But again, you have to learn boundaries in regard to who you are, your personality, and how you want to express yourself. So your boundaries, maybe you should set a time, a time in a day, not more than 10 or 20 minutes, where you just focus on the negative, and outside of that time you do not give it time. You see, that's what I've read some people do. They set a time to just feel sad and angry, or to focus on that stuff, and then once that period is over, they move on to other things. Yeah. So so again, you need to make sure that you handle this wound, because another way it can manifest is you get drawn to people who you never feel good enough around. So this is a person who may end up seeking, if it's a woman, you may, and even a man, but it could be any gender. You end up even in relationships or in friendships, you end up seeking people who you never feel good enough around them, because you're just used to that feeling of never feeling good enough. So it's familiarity to be around people who are either always criticizing you or taking you for granted. You're used to having to work for favor, having to work to be seen. Like, you're used to that. You're used to um that being ignored or being not seen you're used to not being seen, so it's normal for you to choose people who don't see you, who are always criticizing you, who don't appreciate you. So you have to really step out of that, and you have to notice that pattern and start um, seeking relationships where you are appreciated and also appreciate the others. Because again, Sun-Saturn can be full of criticisms and also like to criticize others. So you have to be aware that if you find someone who appreciates you, that you also appreciate them. Otherwise, you may find someone who appreciates you, sees you, etc. But if you still haven't moved from the past and you're always over judgmental, over critical, and not appreciating them, the same pattern will repeat now, but now you're the aggressor, you see. So that's one thing to really look into. If you still have that overly judgmental, overly critical, other people, what they do is really good enough for you, because now this can also appear like that. You just take on the role of your authority figure and become the overcritical one. So you have to learn to appreciate other people's efforts. When you really work on this aspect, you can really, it's the aspect of the bosses and the authority figures and the leaders. When you learn to embrace responsibility in a balanced way, when you learn to shine through responsibility, but in a way that the responsibility is not a burden to you, like it's eclipsing your self-expression, and you're able to balance self-expression and your duties to others, that's better. But don't let your duty to others be the main priority, such that you don't have space for your self-expression. And you have to let your creative abilities shine. Um, you have to let yourself be able to make mistakes sometimes. With these aspects, there's this thing of being too careful. You gotta just let loose sometimes, and let yourself make the mistakes. Because that's how you really achieve the hero's journey. And in this aspect, if you had negative authority figures, because there are people with some certain aspects who are more balanced, and their parent wasn't overcritical, the parent was balanced in terms of teaching them responsibility in a balanced way, that they haven't internalized that overcritical voice that makes them have low self-esteem. So if you're able to reach a point where you can balance authority with self-expression, and you can detach from the approval of your authority figures and rely on your own self-approval. That's a big step. Relying on your own approval and not needing it to come from outside, that will be of huge benefit to you, of extreme benefit. So the thing is, as much as you learn to shine through responsibility, you have to learn to shine regardless. Even if you mustn't feel confident only when you're being responsible, you have to learn to feel confident even if you're not in a position of responsibility, even if you're not in a position of duty, to just be confident in yourself and to appreciate yourself. Learn to take breaks. Don't put yourself through too much, because some of you like overworking, because you find you find that validation through your work. So you can learn to relax and pay attention to your body, to your heart, to your feelings, and you know, you can work, but your feelings, your comfort, those are also important. So be responsible, but don't be overly reliant on that to feel confident, to feel good about yourself. Okay, so guys, that's what I have to say today about this Sun-Saturn aspects. If you love this video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. I'll be posting more on subjects that I find interesting, and you can also suggest to me what you want me to post in future. Okay, thank you for stopping by. Bye.